Welcome back to the Sports Lounge, true and false time. I'll get it started here. We'll just all comment on what we feel is the true or false answer.
Well, we can do this. We can go true or we can go false like that.
False.
Let's not make.
I'll just say it. I can't really do the
something
F,
bad is going to
I can
happen.
do T.
Okay, true or false? The University of Minnesota wins a game in the Big Ten this year.
My goodness, true. I mean, they got to win a couple.
True, a couple. Who are they going to beat?
Well, I don't know. It kind of depends on which teams they play. I don't know.
Jeepers, if there was ever a true statement.
Well, are they playing Indiana? Are they playing Northwestern?
They don't play Indiana. They do
what's
play
their
Northwestern.
non-conference?
Well, they got
in the Big Ten. In the Big Ten. Just in the Big Ten.
Well, you're proposing.
If you want, this is their schedule.
I'm proposing they go 0-8. I think they're not gonna win.
I don't think they go 0-8. Now, Minnesota was dreadful last year. Even then, they won.
Two games. They won the last two games in the Big Ten for the first time since 1973 or something.
Exactly.
Well, that's a win over Illinois on the road.
You say false.
Yes, I say true.
Oh, true.
I say true that they're going to win conference games. I think they're going to go 7-5 this year. What do you think of that? Okay, and I think I think they have it. Well, maybe 6-6, but they're going to make a bowl game. I think they've got a decent chance of winning Saturday against USC. What do you think of that? What do you think of that on the road?
Okay. Why? Okay. How about why?
Well, I think
USC on the road.
I think you're wrong, but you're entitled to your opinion, and I will fight so you can have that.
I'm not saying they are going to win, but I think when they lose 55-13, then you can come back and say, well, Marcus, you were wrong.
What about 40-10?
Fine, you can come back and say it.
It's on the record. We have it on tape.
There you go.
Oh.
All right. So this is if they win any Big Ten game.
Yeah.
I will say I think they can win. I think they can win 1 or 2 Big Ten games. I think they'll probably be like 4-8 or 5-7.
Okay.
That's they play Illinois, they play Purdue. I think there's a good chance they could beat one of those two teams, and they could upset Iowa or something like that. I mean, let's remember the thing to remember is no matter who's better or worse, there's only 1 or 2 teams that go undefeated each year, and usually they get upset when they lose a lot of the time.
Even if they do lose to USC, which it's a decent chance of happening.
Yeah.
Then they put. Yeah, I know that. And complete disclaimer, I'm a Gophers fan, so we can just start with that, or end with that, whichever way. But they play the first 2 games against Michigan and Purdue on the road. If they split those games, they're 4-1, assuming they run the table in the rest of the.
Who do they play in the non-conference?
They have New Mexico State, Miami of Ohio, and NDSU back-to-back weeks. I don't know.
Middle Tennessee State gave them a game last year.
But Minnesota beat them.
But it was a game.
Well, the bias has been established. We're all false here.
You asked the question about Minnesota, and I gave you
very good answer.
I gave you what I thought.
That's what he thought. True, false.
You didn't have to establish your fanhood. Yes. What's the next one?
For you. You come up. Yeah.
My gosh.
True or false?
If you don't have one, I could do one quick.
Oh.
True, false, and this is a subjective one too, in a strange way, kind of. But last year, Cam Newton won the Heisman Trophy. Most people hadn't heard of him. The year before that, Ingram won it. Most people hadn't heard of him. The year before that, Bradford won it. He was more known, but was just a sophomore, so he wasn't, a front runner Heisman at the beginning. So true or false? Whoever wins the Heisman Trophy in December, is it someone who is one of these mainstream guys right now people know? Or will it be another guy kind of out of nowhere that people aren't quite sure who he is right now?
Well, if I say true, that means it's going to be somebody we know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to go true. I think Andy Luck is the front runner for obvious reasons, and I think it's just kind of just on a train headed right for the Heisman Trophy as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, if people know about Trent Richardson from Alabama, I'd say he's got a good chance of winning it. Crazy enough, Taylor Martinez, if Nebraska wins enough games,
he's a bit of a wild card.
And if he carries the team at all, he's going to be in the talk when we come to December for Heisman Trophy consideration.
I would go true. I think it's Andrew Luck, LaMichael James. There's enough guys. There's like a half dozen guys out there that could be Heisman Trophy winners. Where I
think you guys are right, but this is the thing to remember.
Like
only one person can win it. Anyone who's ranked in the top 8.
You'd have to name a team that would do well, because that's the only way they're going to win it. A team that would do well.
I think 2 teams, two guys in the last 15 years have gone like 9-4 and won it.
Because
everyone else has been 10-2 or better.
Auburn wasn't expected to do a whole lot last year, and Cam Newton tore it up, so that's why he won. So you have to win. First, you have to look at that surprise team and the best player on that team.
What is it, something about an emphasis on winning? Is that,
winning helps.
Did we talk about that earlier?
I think that's something you want to do.
Okay.
I think so. Yes.
I thought they were just there to get an education.
Well, I can come up with a true false question right here. SDSU related.
Okay.
True or false? Dale Moss is the leading receiver on the SSU Jackrabbits this year in terms of yardage.
False.
Okay.
I'll go with Aaron Rowland as far as being the guy. Moss, he may get a couple touchdowns, 3, 4. It'll be interesting to see what his role is. Apparently, he cracked a rib. That's what he said on Twitter. See how if that's true or what that's all about. But I think the receiving core is pretty deep. They don't have a standout guy, so he can be in the mix there. But as far as yards go, he could be a big play down the field guy. But I see Rollin, maybe even Cool out of the backfield getting more yards than Mr. Moss.
And I think Trevor Tiefenthaler could be a dark horse kind of kid, just a sophomore, has speed. He could be a guy that ups his catch total this year.
I'm actually looking for something in here.
Okay. And
Colorado State, yes.
Moss is kind of a bit of a hybrid receiver, and he's inexperienced, but he could definitely make some big plays. But
I would. Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to go with false. I mean, it's nothing personal against Moss, obviously.
Yes,
just with players I haven't seen play before, I always like to take a wait and see card. So since he has not played any football games for the Jackrabbits yet, I'm going to go with he will not be the leading receiver in terms of yards. I'd be fine with it if he is. Obviously, he's a great athlete. I think he could be very, 6'5" and 205, 210 or whatever. He could be great in the red zone, but I think Aaron Rowland will probably have more.
He will have a prominent role in the receiving core for sure, and it will be in situations just like you said where they'll be in the red zone and they are committed to throwing the ball up to him. Now, whether or not that actually happens, we won't know until we get going. But that fly is back.
And fruit flies.
The dang flies. Anyway, I think, he'll be false. He'll be number 2 or number 3 on the yardage chart when he gets to the end. Now, he could have 6 or 7 touchdowns. I don't think that's out of the question. But I think Rollin will be the number 1 guy. He's kind of that slant guy who they'll probably hit quite a bit. And I think, like you said, there's a lot of guys out there, and a lot of guys with people or with something to prove. Rollin didn't finish the season last year, so I think it'll be interesting to see how that receiving core comes along.
It will be. I think depending on how many snaps Moss gets, I mean that's as important as anything in this equation is how many times he's on the field. But I know if you're Thomas O'Brien,
you have to consider throwing it up in the air and seeing what happens, because again, Moss is 6'4", 210 with the athleticism needed to come down with the ball on a heave.
For more about Dale Moss, where can they go?
You can go
to the Collegian.
That's right.
First issue, August 31.
There will be a cover story in the sports section, and it will be about said receiver, Dale Moss.
Good.
Or GoJacks.com. That'll be up. I don't know when this is reported, when it's going to be up, my Dale Moss interview. Yep. I don't know when this is going to be aired, but it'll be up at some point later Monday.
So we are your Dale Moss leader.
Yes. This show, do you have a true false?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, get to that first.
True or false? Boise State will be in the national championship game this season.
I will say false. I think they have a shot to do it, obviously. I do not think they will get in over a one-loss SEC team, no matter what. If like someone from the Big Ten's undefeated and an SEC team has 1 loss, they will get in ahead of them. And I think there's a good chance a 1-loss Big Ten or Pac-12 team, maybe not Pac-12, or a Big 12 team could. So I think for Boise to play for the national title, they're going to need, preferably someone to upset someone in the SEC title game and to be probably the only undefeated team. I will say that that will not happen.
Well, I think they got a great chance at, having one of those teams with, an 11-1 record. I don't think their schedule really isn't that difficult. I mean, TCU
and Georgia
this
Nevada.
week.
Is Nevada what
Nevada's October 1st at home. TCU's November 12th at home.
So Boise State that again, just predicated on their schedule. I mean, chalk them up for 10 wins every single year just based on that fact. But hey, they can't wear the blues anymore at home. They can't wear the camouflage.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe that has an effect. We will see.
I would like to see it, but I'll go false. Well, I mean, if they're undefeated, I don't even know if they get in, like Charlie said, a one-loss SEC or maybe an Oregon or a Stanford with one loss. They get in ahead of them. And maybe this is their last run as Kellen Moore. Being a senior, this is kind of their last chance to make that title game.
I mean, I think we can all agree they're going to be very good and talented and win a lot of games. I don't think any of us would be shocked if they went undefeated. It's just if they can get the right breaks to get in.
I have a quick question for you guys. If the Pac-12 expands again, do they think about Boise State?
No.
No?
I don't think they do.
If it's all about football?
I've read a few things that the biggest thing is creating new markets, the TV share, so they want to create teams from big cities and stuff, so which is why they bring Colorado to bring like the Denver market, and people thought Missouri because they've got St. Louis and Kansas City.
Or Texas.
From a football aspect, I would love Boise State to go to the Pac-12, but there's just not, it's not a super populated state.
Financial feasibility just isn't there. The fact is Boise State, there's 30,000 fans at Boise State games, It's not a big enough of a market, and that's just kind of the reality of the thing.
We can get into this at a later show and talk about it for 50 minutes like we like to do. But I'll just have 4 conferences, Northeast, Southwest, have 16, 20 teams every conference, whatever. Just end it.
I have a proposal for that as well. With some relegation, you move the teams down conference-wise. You finish in the bottom 2, you move down a conference.
That would put more emphasis on winning.
And you can't, and you got to be in one of those top 4.
You want to get relegated from losing?
That's right.
There you go.
So this is like soccer.
It's exactly like soccer.
I think they're kind of headed to, well, I don't know about the relegation, but I think they're headed to the 4 16-team super conferences. And whether you want or don't want a playoff, if you want one, that would probably be something to hope for, because then you could just have a 14 playoff of the 4 champions of each super ultra.
It'd be like a regional.
Then, yeah.
It'd be just like a regional. You have your 4 power conferences, and you have divisions, so you have 8 divisions. That'd be kind of.
And if you really want it, hope that Texas A&M goes to the SEC. So once someone gets 13 teams, and then everyone starts the stockpiling, the arms race if we need to keep up with everybody else. So if that's if you want a playoff, hope that the conference realignment goes crazy again next summer.
I think that's a very good thing to point out, how that could be a playoff, having a 4-team tournament in the conference and going from there. Alrighty, true, false, outstanding segment.
True.
As always, true.
False. It could have
been better. We could have had the cards, actually. That would have been nice. But we'll wrap this thing up here when we return. You're watching the Sports Lounge. Welcome back to the Sports Lounge. We will go around the horn here and pick our winners from the 3 conferences. We have previewed the SEC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12. Drew, I'll start with you.
Well, I like Oregon in the Pac-12 because they bring so many pieces back, and Chip Kelly is a good coach. Big Ten, I'm going to go with Wisconsin, just kind of off the heels of their excellent season they had last year. SEC, gosh, that's up for grabs. I'll go with Alabama.
Okay.
I'll echo most of that. I'll take Oregon in the Pac-12. I'll alter. I'll say Nebraska beats Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game, and then Alabama looks pretty good for the SEC title.
I'm going to go with Oregon beats Utah, Pac-12 title game. Big Ten title game, I'm going to say that Ohio State wins and beats Nebraska. And, Nebraska's offense doesn't do anything. It's worked the last 2 years. Why not have a 3rd year in a row where their offense?
Is the score 5-3?
Well, I'll go more realistic and let's say 12-10.
8-6.
And then I think in the SEC title game, Alabama beats South Carolina like they beat Michigan State in the Capital One Bowl.
I'll make it a sweep of Oregon to win the Pac-12. I like Nebraska to win the Big Ten. And for the SEC, I've been on LSU ever since January. I'll just go with them since I kind of picked that team early on. I'm going to stick with them. not
You have
go
butterflies in your stomach saying that with all these
I think it's a dumb
bar
pick.
fighting things.
And I don't think it's really going to happen, but I'll pick it. LSU, I think Alabama and LSU, that'll be the decider. Whoever wins that game, I think, is your national title winner. So those
Now
are
watch, Mississippi State's going to go on and win the national.
Yes.
Ole Miss.
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. Cornelius Vanderbilt.
Them in Kentucky, in that East. Yes. We previewed half the BCS conferences here today. We'll look at the Big 12, the ACC, and the Big East. We'll look at some of the smaller schools, your Boise States. We'll also look at the Heisman Trophy, and we'll make our national title picks on Thursday. If you missed this show, don't worry, because it will be on 20 times throughout the week. Actually, 20 times.
Good. A lot of FaceTime.
A lot of FaceTime, yes. Monday and Thursdays at 6 and 9, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at noon, 3, 6, and 9. So your multiples of 3 there. So if you miss it, and if you can't get enough of it, go to YouTube, search the Sports Lounge. It should be on there.
So even if
So basically, if you don't know what time it's on, you can just start doing this, and then if it's one of those times, there's a good chance it'll be
Yes.
on then.
even if you don't want to watch us, we're going to find you.
So you'll
Your
be-
TV will find us.
I like that. I like that as just a motto.
You'll be
Sports
flipping.
Lounge. If you don't want us, we'll find you.
The very stalker-esque.
Yes, yes. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back on Thursday to preview the other half of the BCS conferences. You've been watching the Sports Lounge.